Okay, our topic this series is the wonders, the mystical secrets of the alphabet, the Aleph Bays. What are the mysteries of these letters? Why do I assume there's any mysteries in the letters, right? Are there any mysteries in the letters of the alphabet, right? Alpha, beta, gamma, right? Or what's going on? The delta, D is delta. What does delta mean? I don't know. It's a shape, it's a symbol, it's a Greek sign. Who even says that there is anything about the Hebrew alphabet that's a little bit deeper than the surface? Well, for starters, what is the word for a letter in Hebrew? Otiot would be in the plural. The word ot, right, in the singular is the word for a letter in Hebrew. What does the word ot mean? Shabbos is described as ot he. Le'olam. It's a sign forever between me and the Jewish people that I created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. The word ot means a sign. The word for letter means sign. It's telling you this is a sign. A sign always points to something bigger and greater, right? I don't put up a sign on my block saying there's another sign 500 yards ahead. I say there's a yard sale 500 yards ahead. I'm not sure what you'd rather have, a yard sale or just another sign. But the reality is when I'm pointing to something and saying, this letter is not just a letter. It's a sign of something greater, something deeper. We're going to see wild and amazing things in this series about the Hebrew alphabet. The letters themselves, according to certain mystical traditions, were the very first things that God created. Last week's Torah portion was the portion of Bereshit, the first portion of the Torah, Genesis. What does the first verse in the Torah say? Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, right? That's your source 1 over here. Genesis 1:1, right? Let's start at the beginning. Call me Ishmael, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Source number 1, Genesis 1:1. Bereshit bara Elokim et. In the beginning of God's creating, He created the word et. What is the word et? It's a word made up of Aleph, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and Taf, the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. So according to certain mystical traditions, the first thing that God created was the alphabet, the Aleph through Taf. Because with that alphabet, God was going to then create the rest of the world. An amazing thing, if you actually read the first chapter of Genesis, which is a fascinating read, it describes the creation of the world. And everything that God creates, He creates by speaking it into existence. And remember, God is super powerful. He could... Now, when God creates the world, He creates the world using statements. And God said, let there be light. Thank you so much. And God said, let there be a heavens. And God said, let the waters recede and the dry land show. And God said, let there be vegetation sprout forth. Instead of God, now there's many ways that God could create things. Right? God has superpowers. So, first of all, God doesn't even need to say anything. He can just, boom, will it into existence, right? I think, therefore I am, right? Meaning God could just think, let there be vegetation, and it all would have happened. God could have also waved a magic wand, right? Or something like that. But instead, God uses the modicum of speech to create our world, telling us something very deep about ourselves. The entire story of the creation is really a model for us on how we should create our world. And what it's telling us is that you create your world with your speech, with the words that you use. God created His world with the words to show us you create your world with the words that you use, the combinations, the letters that you put together. So God first creates the alphabet and then uses the alphabet to create a world. This alphabet is not a simple collection of signs or symbols that used to be Greek. These are very, very deep mystical things. And we're going to see that they have incredible powers and that they touch us deeply with lots of messages. If you understand all the letters properly, you can create anything. The Talmud tells us, Betzalel, if you look at source number 2, it was actually 1b, Talmud, Brachot, folio 55. Betzalel knew to combine the letters in which the heavens and the earth was created. Who was Betzalel? Does anybody know who Betzalel was?
It's my son's Hebrew name.
There you go. It may be referring to him. It also might be referring to,
Wasn't he the artist that helped create the tabernacle?
Amazing. Yes, you, by the way. A lot of extra cookies for that. Seriously. Bezalel was the architect who had to create the hardest building ever created in history. Right? Now you'd say, wait a second, there's that Burj Al Khalifa in Dubai that's 3,000 feet high. No. It was very complicated. This was not a complicated building so much in its exact structure, but in what it was, its function. The tabernacle was supposed to be a home for God. Remember, God is not a physical item that you can touch. Trying to create a home that's going to bridge both our physical world and the infinite God is possibly the most difficult building ever created. And Bezalel was the architect. What tools did Bezalel have? Where did he go to school? Did he go to University of Michigan's Engineering and Architecture program? Did he go to Parsons School of Design? No. He knew how to combine the letters. He understood the deep, deep meaning behind every letter and what it represented, and using that, he was able to create whatever he wanted. Even the most difficult structure ever, a physical building that would house a spiritual infinite God. Now, has anybody here been to Prague? By raise of hand?
Yes.
Okay. You guys know about the Golem of Prague?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Now, the Golem probably did not exist. I mean, when I say probably, I mean like with incredibly high probability, the Golem never existed. I'm sorry if I broke any childhood fantasies you had of making your own Golem and having him do your vacuum cleaning or whatever it would be. The Golem most likely never existed. But the Golem could have existed. Meaning, using the right powers and using the letters and words in the proper ways, people would have been able to create an animated, lifelike, non-living form. Yes?
Are you saying that just by knowing the power and the meaning of the letters that man could do what God does?
Well, that is an excellent question. You would have to know the letters as well as God to be able to do all that God's able to do. Mankind would be able to know, the more you know the letters, and when I talk about the letters, trust me, but by the time you get out of this class, I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to create golems. Right? No one's going home with their take-home, make-it-at-home golem kit. You know what I'm saying? That's a different class. It's a much more expensive series. You know what I'm saying? Might as well just buy an iRobot. Let me make a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Just by the way, just to understand also, the letters that I just put together right there to create that blessing creates a real thing in the world. When you said amen, a simple aleph, mem, nun, a three-letter word, that word itself has incredible depth. What does it mean? How does it mean it? What does it represent? I mean, we're talking about, there's a lot of stuff out there. So depending on how well you understand the letters, the mystical secrets behind them, the more power you have. There have been other Kabbalists who wrote about the possibility of creating a golem. It was never the Maharal of Prague. Right, the Maharal of Prague, the man who was allegedly the person who created the golem, Rabbi Yehuda Leiby, who lived in Prague in the late 16th century, he's the one who officially created the golem. He didn't, but he probably could have. He was on that level. Now, can you do all that God can do? Only if you would know everything as well as God, which you won't. But we can build up a... Look, there are people today, I can tell you, I'll tell you, I was just going to go forward, but I'm going to have to stop and make a story over here. To understand the power of blessing, okay, there are people who are very, very learned. And when I say learned, I don't mean they just, they went to classes in the evening for a couple of years. I'm talking about people who spent their entire, and I value that, by the way, tremendously. But I'm talking about people who spent 50, 60 years studying 12 to 16 hours a day, 364 days a year. Like literally, okay? You just didn't, even on Tisha B'Av, they would study certain things. Tisha B'Av was the one day a year you're not allowed to study. They would study other things that you're allowed to study in Tisha B'Av. We're talking about people who literally devoted, we're talking about the hundreds of thousands of hours they put into Torah study is incalculable.
How do they make a living?
How do they make a living? That is a good question. They just say the right words and the money appears. No, I'm kidding. Most of these people, by the way, live very frugally, for the record. Incredibly frugally. But they still have, they made it happen. They've all, these are people who, Anyway, I'm not recommending it. It's not the kind of thing that I recommend for you. But there are people who have done this. Great sages. Now, there are sages in the Hasidic world. There are sages in the non-Hasidic world. We call it Lithuanian Jewry. In the Hasidic world, the Hasidic world is much more sort of mystical based, and the Litvish world, the Lithuanian Jewish world, is more like, rational based, less mystical, more intellectual. It's different, and it's important for Jewry to have both those components. They're both very crucial components for Jewry. That being said, in the mystical world, in the Hasidic world, it's much more frequent that people will come to their Hasidic rabbis, and the rabbis will give them blessings, and there's incredible stories about Hasidic rabbis and their blessing. I can tell you, me personally, I sat down with a Hasidic rabbi who just sat there and just started telling me all about myself. It was like kind of weird. I just gave him my name. I gave him my name on a piece of paper, Yehuda Leiby ben Nechama Mindel. And he looked at my name and he started telling me all about myself. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty wild. He was giving me the look. He was right on. I deserved it. 100%. 100%. It was amazing. It was such love. It was a wild. I came out of the room like shaking. It was a crazy experience. Friends of mine came out bawling because he told them stuff, like specific incidents that happened to them that nobody else in the world knew. And he did it just by looking at their name. Because again, he understood the letters. He's able to put together the exact makeup. And it's a wild thing, but it happened to me. I'm the guy here. It's not I heard it from somebody. It happened to me. But in the Lithuanian Jewish world, so to speak, there's not so much. They're much more into Torah study, and like the rabbis of the Lithuanian world are known much more for their brilliant expositions of Talmudic and halachic rulings and law than they are for their blessings and that kind of stuff. Now, yeah.
Mishnayim, it just popped into my head. The people who were more logical in their thinking and less...
Mishnayim? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Check that and get back to me. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Right, could be. Mishnah, the word Mishnah?
Mishnayim were people that, like the people you're discussing, the Lithuanian school of thought, is more based on things you can see and read, as opposed to a more Kabbalistic
Hasidic bent. Okay.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, so the Hasidic in the Hasidic world, is very common for people to go to the rabbis for blessings. If a woman has been having trouble with having children, of course, we're not talking about saying don't do whatever medical things there are available, but there are people who have gone through every medical treatment available and that has availed them of nothing. So there's this one story with this great rabbi who lived in England, and he was a Lithuanian type of Jew. He was going to visit a Hasidic rabbi in New York. They have very great respect for one another. Now, people had come to him over the years. Can you give me a blessing for a child? Can you give me? And the rabbis would say, that's really not my thing. You might want to go to someone else who's more, who does that more frequently. So there was this guy who had been married in their community for many years, many years, and had no children, and it was a great source of pain and anguish to him. So when the rabbi was going to New York, he said to the rabbi, he came and says, when you go to this great Rebbe, I think he was going to the Skvera Rebbe, he said, when you go to the Rebbe, can you please beg him for a blessing for a child for me and my wife? And the rabbi said, fine. Meaning, I myself don't dabble in blessing giving, so to speak, but if you ask me, I'm going to see the Skvera Rebbe, you want me to ask him for a blessing for you, I can do that. And he gave him his name, okay. Now this rabbi, just to understand the respect they had for one another, the Lithuanian rabbi, before going to the Hasidic rabbi, he spent like hours in preparing himself and immersing. He felt like he was going to see a great human being. And you don't just walk into that kind of meeting. So he prepared himself, and he studied, and he meditated, and he was quiet, and he talked, and he learned. He did this whole preparation thing. And he goes over, then he drives him over, and it was really like he was like just very, very serious and very ready for this powerful experience. He's going to see this great rabbi who he respects tremendously. He goes in, they talk for about an hour, and he comes out. He comes out, and just after he comes out, the person who was driving him said, Rebbe, did you remember to ask the Skvera Rebbe for a blessing for so-and-so for the child. And he started shaking. He's like, oh, this guy forgot. So, well, look, we're right here now. You can go back in. He says, no. I can't just go back in. I'd have to prepare all over again. Right? I didn't just walk in the first time. I have to prepare myself all over again, and we don't have time. We have to go back to the airport. He said, you know what? He said, I'm just going to have to give him a blessing that he should have a child. And he prayed and prayed, and a year later, the person had a child. And I could tell you stories like this literally all day. Stories of people that I know these things happen to. There was a rabbi in my community. He was the head of the school. The warmest, most amazing man. His name was Rav David Sitnik. And he's the headmaster of a school. So what does he see all day long? Beautiful children. And he had no children for more than 20 years. By then already his wife was significantly older, and he used to beg his Rebbe. His Rebbe was the Rebnitzer Rebbe. He used to beg his Rebbe, saying, please, Rebbe, I dedicate my life to these children. Please, give me a blessing for a child. And his Rebbe said, when you finally give up hope, that's when you're going to have a child. So he didn't give up hope, though. Who gives up hope on having a child? And he kept going back and, praying and doing. Of course, they had gone through every medical treatment possible. They'd spent tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars on the most advanced medical treatment. Nothing doing. And finally, after he was married more than 20 years, he and his wife had a conversation. They said, okay, it's just not meant to be. God decided that we were not supposed to be blessed with a child. There were many great people who were never blessed with a child. The Lubavitcher Rebbe never had any children. There were many great rabbis who never had any children. So they said, I'm sure it must have been an incredibly tearful conversation for him and his wife. This is years, after years and years of trying, they just said, you know what? We're done. We've expended every effort possible. We've done whatever we can, and it's just not going to happen. And guess what? A year later, she had a child on Passover, the holiday of redemption. On the first day of Passover, the holiday of redemption, she had a child. I cannot tell you, our entire community, you can't imagine, the entire community was just lifted up in glee, in joy for them. And then he remembered, he talked about it. He remembered how 10 years earlier, his Rebbe had said to him, when you give up hope, that's when you're going to have a child. The mystical world is a crazy world. People who understand Kabbalistic secrets and understand how these letters work and what to use them for and how to use them, there's an energy there. And again, I can tell you stories like this all day long. It's all about the letters. It's all about understanding the secrets of what our letters, the power of our letters, the power of our Torah, the power of how to use them, of how to combine them. Bezalel, who was tasked with creating the most difficult building ever, what was he armed with? Not a degree in architecture, not a degree in design, but a degree in understanding the letters. Bezalel, haya yodea letzarif, osios shebehem, nivru shamayim ba'aretz. Bezalel knew how to combine the letters with which heavens and earth were created. To get an understanding of how this works, let me just explain to you what I mean. So this is all very mystical, right? So let me break it down. I've got a friend of mine, his name is Noah Klein. At one point, he may still be, well, he's not anymore, but at one point he was the youngest master plumber in the state.
That's what I just said, he was my plumber.
He's your plumber, there we go. Okay, so the way it works is in the world of plumbing, there's different levels. You apprentice, then you become a journeyman, right? And then you become, there may be another step in between, and then you become a master. You need a certain amount of years of experience, and you need to take, in order to become what's called a master plumber, you need to take this really intense test that is failed the first time by more than 75% of plumbers. It's a very, very difficult test. And there's a huge, first of all, you have to, the code you have to know, right? All the codes, the building codes, and the gradients, and I have no idea. I've got no knowledge of plumbing. I know that plumbing costs me a lot whenever I need it. That's all that I know about plumbing. But the bottom line is, one part of the test is they just throw bits and pieces at you. What's that? And you have to be able to, by sight, to identify every single piece. And there's over 1,000 different pieces. And by sight, you say, what's that? And you have to say, that's a 3/5 inch, PVC pipe with a coaxial fitting. I'm throwing out words. I mean, yeah. But the bottom line is, and now here's how it works though. If you know what all those pieces are, you can plumb a skyscraper. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how to put it all together. It's the same thing with letters. I'll give you another example. We're all familiar with DNA, right? So DNA is made up of base pairs. What are in our base pairs? How many different kinds of molecules are there going to be in your base pairs? Anybody know?
52.
No. 4. 4, right? DNA is made up of 4 base molecules. Adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Okay, that's it. And the adenine is always paired with the cytosine, that's the AC pair, and then the guanine is always paired with thymine, that's the GT pair. AC or GT? Now, depending on how your ACs and GTs are lined up, is going to dictate the vast majority of you. Amazingly, of you. Now, when I say you, I'm not just referring to the simple things, like, for example, how tall you're going to be, what color eyes, what color hair you're going to have. At what age are you going to begin to bald? I think my ACGT said 14. Right? It's all in your DNA, but there's more. Scientists today are discovering that in your DNA is also markers for anger, for violence, for alcoholism, which, by the way, the Torah told us thousands of years ago in this week's Parsha. In this week's Torah portion, the portion of Noah, the Torah very clearly tells you. If you're wondering about this whole nature versus nurture thing, the Torah says, we are on the side of nature. Ki yetzer lev hadam ra min urav. For the nature of man is bad from his youth. And Rashi explains there, from the moment that he's shaken out of the womb. It's amazing. They say, who's shaken out of the womb? Evil. People didn't understand, what does Rashi mean by this? Yeah, maybe when he's 3 years old, he starts doing evil things. Like, putting magic markers, permanent markers all over your furniture. Maybe he's at 3 years, he's evil. Who's evil? I got a baby. I got a baby and I was 4 months old. There's not an evil bone in his body. But actually, no, the Torah says there is. And now we discover in science, thousands of years later, 3,000 years later, we discover that the moment you are born, with your DNA, you already are coded for certain negative traits. People are coded for everything from violence to alcoholism to fears. It's an amazing thing.
Homosexuality as well?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Again, just because whatever someone's coded for doesn't mean they have a right to do it, right? If I'm coded for violence, it doesn't give me a license to act violent. Say, well, that's the way I was born. I was born violent. Yes, you were. Your job is to take that violence and to turn it into something else. Turn that energy into something else. It's actually a fascinating book. Wow, we are so going off topic. You're for sure not making golems because we haven't even gotten to the Aleph yet. No golems for you. Okay. There's a book called The Psychopath Inside. It's written by a PhD who was fascinated his whole life with serial killers. And he actually determined, if you read Popular Science, there's one of the most popular magazines in America, it's called Popular Science. This month's issue, has a whole huge article about the genetics of psychopaths. Ted Bundy, Adam Lanza, all these people, the boy from Newton and Columbine, So there are DNA genetic markers for psychopathic pathology. So this researcher who's fascinated by serial killers and all forms of psycho and sociopaths, he's doing research. And this is what he's been writing about his whole life, all his papers, peer-reviewed journals. So at one point he does this study where they take a bunch of college students and they take a bunch of, they needed a control group, so they used his family. So they took up 400 college students and a control group, like 25 members of his family, and they tested them all for DNA. One night he's in his office and his research assistant comes in and he says, "Doc, you're not going to like this, but there's a psychopath in your family." And he said, no. You probably just confused the data. The data must have gotten cross-contaminated. There's no psychopaths in my family. He says, Professor, I'm really sorry to tell you, I did not. I double-checked. I did not cross-contaminate the data. There's a psychopath in your family. So he says, all right, let's go look it up. Let's go see. I can't believe it. So they go, they check all the data, and there was no contamination. There's only the control group was his family. It was only 22 people or so, 25 people. And there was clearly a person who had the genetic markers of a psychopath in his family. So now this professor did something very, very wrong, very unethical. He broke the wall of anonymity. You're never allowed to do that in any kind of research, but he said, if I've got a psychopath in my family, I got to figure out who it is. I got to protect my kids. I got to protect my wife. I got to know who it is. Guess who it was?
Yeah.
It was him.
Wow.
It was him. And then he looks at his life. You have to read this book about it. You can look it up. You can buy it on Amazon, Kindle, whatever you want. The Psychopath Inside. And he basically goes through his whole life, and he discovers how, he was raised by these amazing parents, but he has certain tendencies, and he's like, if I had been raised, in a family that was not supportive or loving, if I didn't have two loving parents supporting me the whole way and helping me out when I was angry as a kid and all that, I probably would be a serial killer. Ki yetzer lev ha'adam ra minu rav. We tell that your genetics, you've been coded from the time you were born, from the time you were shaken out of your mother's womb, as it says in this Torah portion, with negative behaviors. Yes?
Did he talk about identical twins in his book?
That's a good question. I didn't read the whole book, but I did order it. Isn't that great here in America? What do we do? I didn't read the whole book, but I ordered it. It's good enough. Don't worry, Rabbi. That's fine. Who cares if you know about it? But you ordered it. Thank you. We live in a consumer society. Buying is just as good as knowing. Okay. In any case, the bottom line is, now what decides whether I have at least psychopathic tendencies or not? A, G, C, T. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually gave the wrong base pairs. It's A, G, C, T. So adenine and guanine and cytosine and thymine. A, G, C, T. That's it, depending on how they're put together. What determines who you are the letters. That's why great rabbis are able to look at someone's name and throw all the letters together and understand who these people are. Okay? It's an amazing, remarkable thing to see, and I've seen it happen with two different rabbis in my life. One I just described you, and there's another one as well. Okay, now, name. A person's name. How do you say the word name in Hebrew?
Shem.
Shem. How do you say the word soul in Hebrew?
Neshama.
Neshama. Okay. Let's look at the word neshama. Here is the nun. Here is the shin. Here is the mem. And here is the hey. Hey, which when we get to it we'll describe it, describes this world. Hold on a second. Okay, nun describes spiritual perfection. Again, we're going to get to nun by 2019, and we'll understand why nun represents spiritual perfection. But the number 50 represents spiritual perfection. What connects this world and your spiritual perfection? Shame. Your name. Your essence. Who you are. Your name has a massive effect on who you are as a human being. Because again, if the entire world was created by letters, by God saying, let there be light, God saying, let there be dry land, right? When your name was given to you, the Talmud says when parents give a child a name, it's a mini prophecy. I have to send it. My name is Yehuda. Yehuda Leiby. The word Leiby means lively. Some would say that I'm lively. The word Yehuda comes from the word lahodot, to give thanks. Until I gave this class for the very first time, I never even realized this. But my entire life, my favorite blessing in the silent devotion has been modem, which means to give thanks. Not only that, when I write emails to people, and I do that frequently, here's my common salutation as it's been for the last 15 years. Thanks, Leiby. Someone says to me, hey, Leiby, do you know what time services are today? I'll write back, 7:30 p.m. Thanks, Leiby. What am I thanking them for? That's my salutation. I've been doing that for 15, 20 years. I never even put it together with my name until the first time I gave this class. Wow, my name is Yehuda. I love the blessing of thanks. I can give thanks during dinner at least at least 5 times. If my wife makes a good dinner, easy 5 times, perhaps more. This is natural to me. It's not one of my challenges. And my salutation on my emails for years has been, thanks, Leiby. Your name is a huge representation of who you are. It's almost the internal essence of your neshama. I'll give one more example. There is a song by Billy Joel called "We Didn't Start the Fire." You guys know that song? We didn't start the fire? Okay. I'm not going to sing the whole song for you, but I will sing a portion. Okay? It's not a very songy song for most of it, except for the chorus. Lebanon, Charles de Gaulle, California baseball, stark weather, homicide, children of...
Thalidomide.
Thalidomide, that's right. What is thalidomide?
Chemical drug that caused limbs to be malformed.
Exactly. It was a chemical that was given to women to ease their pregnancy in the late 60s or early 70s, and it ended up being a disaster. And children of thalidomide were children who were born with all sorts of deformities that they later discovered were linked with the drug. Now let me tell you something. You may not ever want to hear the word thalidomide again, but there is something you might have heard of. It's called lenalidomide.
Oh, just spell it.
Lenalidomide.
Yeah, you're right. You don't want to hear that again.
Okay, you don't want to hear that? Lenalidomide. You really don't want to, because what it is it's a drug for beating cancer. But it's an effective drug, and it's used today. Thalidomide, poison, very bad. Lenalidomide extends lives for people who have cancer. They're the same drug, they're the exact same molecules, but just in a different order. They just sort of, it's like a reverse. When it comes to chemistry, it's a fascinating thing. Chemistry, what is chemistry? We have a bunch of units on the table of periodic elements. And you could take the same exact elements, 6 of these and 14 of those and 12 of these, right? And you put them together in one order, and it spells thalidomide, which is a horrific drug that deforms and stunts children. You take those exact same ingredients, flip around the order, and what do you get? Lenalidomide, which saves people's lives. The letters, to try to give you a perspective, from a Kabbalistic perspective, the letters of the Hebrew alphabet is like the periodic elements. You use those to create the entire world, and every different order that you put those letters in will result in a totally different thing. Okay? So for example, there's 2 words. One is yirah, which means fear. One is aryeh, which means lion. Now of course those 2 items are linked. The lion is the most feared creature in the world. It's the king of the beast, right? They're connected, but just because you scramble the letters, you get totally different words. Okay. And totally different realities. Okay. We're going to skip a bunch of stuff. Because we got to get... I want to cover at least a letter or 2. I'll just say this. There's an amazing thing, though. And just to give you an example of the power of the letter of Hebrew, the power of the Hebrew words. And when I say Hebrew, I don't mean the modern language of Hebrew, which has words like telephone. And sandwich, exactly. Can you buy me a sandwich? If you say it all in English. Okay, can you buy me a sandwich, right? But in Hebrew, so the modern Hebrew is not necessarily the same thing. When we talk about Hebrew, we're talking about Lashon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue, biblical Hebrew, okay? Biblical Hebrew, the Torah describes that Adam, after he's created, he names all the animals, and it says whatever he named the animals, that's what they were. Big deal. No, it actually is a very big deal. Because in English, what do you call a cow? A cow. Now imagine I'm an evil dictator, and I get up my first day, I make an edict, because dictators like to make edicts with pain of death. I say, hereby, from now on in my kingdom, we shall no longer call the cow a cow. We shall call it a dow. And the crowd goes nuts. There's murmuring and wow, what's this guy crazy? And I say, it is a pain of death. And I start sending out police listening in for people saying cow. And at first there's all kinds of secret societies that gather on nights with low moon coverage and repeat and chant the word cow to hold on to their freedom, right? Eventually though, 500 years from now, the word is dow. Is there any difference at all to the cow? Is it to describe? No, the word cow meant nothing. The word da means nothing. They're irrelevant. They're meaningless words. In Hebrew, take a camel. It's called a gamal. Change its name to a pamal? No, cannot do. Because what is a gamal? The word gamal, which means camel, comes from the word like gomel chesed, to do kindness. What is the function of a camel in the world? It helps human beings get through stretches that they would not be able to get through otherwise. Right? The function of the camel is to help human beings get through the desert, so to speak. What is kindness? To help a friend get through a stretch they couldn't get through on their own. The word gamal is not arbitrary, like the word cow or dow. The word gamal defines the essence of what a gamal is. What is the word for cow in Hebrew? Para. The cow is the most fruitful animal in terms of humanity. Right? It gives us milk and cheese and meat and leather. Everything. The word para, any word that starts with the letters pei resh has to do with being fruitful and multiplying. The word perach is a flower, a fruit. It's called a peri. The most fruitful animal in the world is called the para. So in Hebrew, every word has incredible layers of depth. So this is sort of just an introduction to trying to throw out there just what's going on. Okay. Let's give another example. Let's look at the name for mankind. What is mankind called? When God creates mankind, what is mankind called? Adam. Very good. Adam. A mensch? Is that what you said?
I said
Sons.
down.
No, that's it. Okay. Adam.
Actually, it's Aharon.
Okay. How does this word, Adam, indicate anything about mankind? It doesn't? Who said it doesn't? They're getting themselves in trouble.
Aleph is the first.
Okay.
Is the first one.
Okay, Aleph is the first letter, that's true. So here we go. Let's go through this. The Talmud says, and this can be found on your source sheet at source, number 9, Tractate Nida 31a. The rabbis taught there are 3 partners in a person. God, his mother, and his father, right? God, mother, father. Mother and father provide the physical body. God provides the soul. Together that creates a human being. Now, how do you say a father in Hebrew?
Abba.
Abba is how you call your dad. Abba means like dad. The word for father in Hebrew is Av. Okay, what's the numerical equivalence of Av? We're going to use a lot of numerical stuff during this stuff. The numerical equivalence of the word Av is 3. Aleph is 1, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Beis is 2. Okay, so we got equals 3. How do you say mother in Hebrew? Not Ima. Ima means mom. Aim, right? Aim is a mother. Okay? So here we go. Aim. What's the numerical equivalence of aim? We got 1 over here. And this is the letter number mem, which means is 40. Okay, so we got 41. Okay, so the numerical equivalence of father is 3. The numerical equivalence of mother is 41. What's the numerical equivalence of God? You have to guess. What would be the numerical equivalence of God? 1. God is always represented by 1, which we're going to get to shortly, right? He is 1. He's indivisible. He's unmultipliable, right? Okay. So God, hold on a second. We're just going to put a G here. God likes to sometimes just be given his initial, equals 1. Add up 3 plus 41 plus 1. What do you get? 45. Very good. Now let's discover what the numerical equivalence of mankind is. Aleph is 1. Dalet is 4. Mem is 40. 1 plus 4 plus 40 equals 45. Mankind is made up of 3 contributing partners. Dad, mom, God, for a total of 40. Or I should put God first. God, dad, mom. I should put mom first. God, mom, dad. Okay? There we go. More women here than men. Sorry, guys. We're really first. We're just not going to talk about it in this class. Okay. God, mom, dad. 45. Mankind, 45. That's just one of the ways I'll tell you another way. Mankind is called Adam for another reason. What is earth called? Like dirt, Adama. Very good. The same root as Adam. Mankind is called Adam, which is similar to the word Adama, earth. Why? Because mankind is a simmering pot of potential. You can plant it with all kinds of amazing things, and great things will rise out of it. Right? That's not going to be the case with a cheetah or a jaguar or a panther. Those are almost all the same animal, I know. It's not the case of an anteater or a llama or a Brazilian, rainforest toad. Those things are not going to go through intensive educational processes and become, solvers of the world's problems. They're not going to figure out how to use solar instead of coal, and they're not going to discover how to cure cancer. But mankind can. We're amazing. When a child is born, he's like a plot of land. Go ahead, plant that kid with love and knowledge and manners and water carefully, and the most amazing thing can grow above it. Huge amount of potential. Mankind has it. Nothing else has it. Hence, mankind is called Adam, which is similar to the word earth. We still ourselves, forget our parents. We still every day are planting stuff in ourselves. Are you planting the seeds of positivity or the seeds of negativity? When people ask you how you're doing, do you complain about the weather, or do you say, thank God, amazing, another glorious day? Right? What are you planting on your own plot of earth? What do you want to come up? Thorns and thistles or beautiful plants? We're planting on our own plot of land all the time. Another word about Adam, the word adameh. Adameh means to try to imitate. Our job as human beings is to try to imitate God. The Latins, scholars used to call it imitatio Dei, to try to imitate the divine. Our job as mankind, if you see the source number 10, Rabbi Chama, the son of Rabbi Chanina, further said, what does the verse mean, you shall walk after the Lord your God? Is it possible for a human being to walk after the Shekhinah? Can you walk after God? Has it not been said, for the Lord your God is a devouring fire? But rather the meaning is to walk after the attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He. Just as He clothes the naked, for it says, and the Lord God made for Adam and his wife coats of skin and clothed them, so too you should clothe the naked. The Holy One, blessed be He, visited the sick, for it is written, and the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, so too you should visit the sick. The Holy One, blessed be He, comforted mourners, as it says, and it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that God blessed Isaac his son, so too you should comfort the mourners. The Holy One, blessed be He, buried the dead, as it is written, and He buried him in the valley, so too you should bury the dead. The job of mankind is adameh. I will try to imitate. I will try to make myself similar to God. Again, it's all in the name. That's just one name
How's
of
it
one.
spelled? What
The
comes
word
after-
adameh would be the same word. This would obviously not be a mem
Yeah,
sofit.
right,
It would be a regular mem,
Right,
and then you'd add a hey at the end.
a hey, not an aleph.
Not a no. Which is fascinating also. Yeah, it's an amazing. And that's in one name of mankind. I showed you how numerically it describes the ingredients of a human being. God, mom, dad. How mission-wise it describes what our mission is. Our mission is to try to be like God. And essence-wise, it describes our essence. We are a plot of land, of earth, that can just produce insane amounts of prodigious fruits or produce nothing. Thorns and thistles, hemlock. Okay, let's try to do one letter today. Should we do that? Should we do one letter today? Okay. Let us do the letter Aleph. Okay, Aleph. Letter Aleph. Here we go. No, I'm not very good at Okay, this good, guys? I mean, this is, my weakness is drawing, yeah. But call modern art, then you could sell it for a lot of money. Instead of being a weakness, no, you're so creative. You know how to spill paint onto a painting. Wow, amazing. Let's sell your stuff for $50,000. Okay. Let me not rant right now about modern art. That's not the time and place. The letter Aleph. Of course, Aleph is going to represent God. What does the letter represent numerically? the number 1. God is one. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. God is one. And it's not like 1 is a very unique number, because 1 isn't everything. 319 is also 319 times 1. Right? 319 is not 2 times anything. Right? There are prime numbers. A prime number is a number only multipliable by itself in 1. That's it. But 1 is in every single number. Now, what happens if you multiply 1 times 1? What do you get? 1. You can't multiply God. There's just 1. Can you divide God? 1 divided by 1? No, it equals 1. You can't cut him in half. You can't multiply him. He is oneness. Okay? What is the word aleph? The sound. It's a word aleph. What is the word aleph? In Hebrew, the word aluf means champion, leader. God is our champion. God is our leader. God is the one who teaches us the way. Like a teacher. Aleph chachma, I will teach you wisdom. Aleph is the leader, the teacher. God is our leader and our teacher. If you take the letters aleph, now let's say you spell out the word aleph. Okay, how do you spell it out? What letters would you use to spell out the word aleph? Aleph, lamed, and a face of feet. Very good. So it will look something like this. What is the numerical equivalence of aleph? 1. What's the numerical equivalence of lamed? 30. What's the numerical equivalence of pei? 80. What do you get when you add those 3 numbers up? 1, 1, 1. It's all ones at the end of the day. The first time you find a letter, any specific letter, the first time you find it starting a word in the Torah is the prototype letter. Right? Where is the first time you find a beis in the Torah? Well, the first word of the Torah, Bereshit. Where is the first time you find an aleph in the Torah? What's the first word in the Torah that starts with the letter aleph? Bereshit bara Elokim. God. The prototype letter. It spells out God. Let's look at the shape. This is a fascinating idea. This is actually a yud. You see that? You cut it out?
Right.
Okay, let's get surgical here. This is a yud. This is what?
Oh.
It's another yud. It's upside down. Right? It's literally this thing. And what will be this letter in the middle? A vav. Okay, good. A yud, and then a vav, and then a yud. What's the numerical equivalence of yud?
1.
No, yud is 10.
10.
What's the numerical equivalence of vav? 6. Yud is 10. 10 plus 6 plus 10 equals 26. Anybody know what 26 is? It's a very special number in Judaism.
No.
It's the numerical equivalence of God's most ineffable name. The one name that is the most descriptive of God, so to speak, that we never even utter it. When we read it in the Siddur, we don't say the name. We say the word Adonai, which means my master. We never, ever say this word. Ever. A Jew is never, ever, ever supposed to say this word. It was only used by in the temple times. They would say it only in the temple. And today we don't say it anywhere. We shouldn't. Sometimes I see people saying, and they try to say, the letter, the word, the name is spelled Yud and then a Hey.
Yeah, I know that.
And then a Vav, and then a Hey, right? Yud is 10, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, and then Hey is 5. What does that equal together? 10 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5 is 26. So the letter Yud, the letter Aleph spells out 26, God's ineffable name. By the way, today I think it's become in vogue where certain people say the name, if you would spell it Y-A-W-E-H. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's an attempt for people to say that name of God. And it's highly inappropriate. You're not cavalier with God. You don't call your parents. It's actually no surprise that in our generation, suddenly, it's weird. Like, it was never a thing. No one ever said Y-A-W-E-H. No one described God by saying that.
Yeah.
Recently they did. And guess what? We're also the same generation where people call their parents by their first name. Right? That's just a gross lack of respect. I hear it from my friends sometimes. They'll call their dad, "Hey, Howard." What? Are you nuts, Howard? I don't even call him Howard. I call him Mr. Smith. Because he's 30 years older than me. He's your dad. He's not Howard. She's your mom. She's not Cynthia. It's crazy. A lack, it's because we live in a generation where there's just all boundaries have been like eroded. So now, of course, people call God, they try to call him by his first name too. It's like trying to call, you think you're on a first name basis with God? Anyway. But I digress. Okay. This is the letter Aleph. Again, it represents oneness, godliness. It also, fascinating, is going to be found on a lot of things when they're the firsts. What's the name of the first human being ever to be alive? Adam. What does his name start with? An Aleph. Who's the beginning of the Jewish people? Abraham, the patriarch Abraham. What does his name start with? Aleph. Let's give another example. The Ten Commandments. The, so to speak, prototypical, short synopsis of what we are as a people. How does it start? The Ten Commandments. Anochi. I am the Lord your God. With the letter Aleph. So the letter 1, the letter Aleph represents oneness in so many different ways. Numerical equivalence, the name of its sound, Aleph means champion. The first time you find it in the Torah, the structure of the letter itself, the numerical breakdown, it's all ones. And it represents, again, godliness, oneness, mastery. And now that we've mastered that level, we have not mastered that level. There's so much more we can do.
We can go get a golem.
Yeah, you need a lot more letters than Aleph to make a golem. You can try. But anyway, please do that. Yeah, try. Bring in whatever you came up with. Bring it back for show and tell next week. Your little homemade attempts at a golem. All righty, guys, it's been awesome. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next week.